What if I told you that most people waste their lives not because they choose to, but because they never truly look at what life is? What if the clock was ticking not just on your time, but on your ability to understand time itself? You don't need another motivational video. You don't need more noise telling you to hustle harder or live your truth. What you need is to stop, to observe, to realize that this moment, right now, might be the last moment in which your mind is sharp enough to grasp the meaning of things. That's what Marcus Aurelius reminds us. Life is not just short. The ability to understand life fades faster than life itself. So if we wait too long, not only will we die, but we'll lose our ability to live before that. That's what this video is about. Not just death, but the slow forgetting of what it means to live wisely. You've probably felt it before. That subtle fear when your thoughts drift away mid-conversation. When your attention shortens. When clarity becomes harder to hold. And beneath that fear, a deeper one, the question of whether you're using your life well. Marcus Aurelius was an emperor, but more than that, he was a thinker who sat down, pen in hand, and asked himself every day, am I living with purpose, or am I just coasting? In Book 3 of his Meditations, he confronts that truth. We waste our lives not just through distraction, but through delay, through thinking we have time, through believing our mind will always be this sharp, that our reason, our ability to understand what matters, will never fail us. But it will, unless we use it now. This is where we begin. First, Marcus reminds us of a brutal reality. Even if we live long, our understanding may not. The mind declines before the body does. One day, reason, the very thing that makes us human, may vanish. Not suddenly, but gradually. And in that fading, so too goes our ability to see the world clearly. This is the first cause of wasted life. We wait. We assume clarity is permanent. It's not. Second, we get distracted by beauty, pleasure, and appearance. But Marcus flips the script. He tells us that nature's true beauty lies not in perfection, but in its authenticity. The cracked crust of bread, the soft rot in ripe olives, the heavy bend of a stalk of wheat. These are not flaws. They are consequences of life unfolding as it must. And so too are the wrinkles of old age, the imperfections of decay. If we saw with the eyes of reason, we would find beauty not just in youth, but in the slow, silent work of time. The problem is not the world. The problem is how we've been trained to see it. Third, we obsess over the lives of others. What is he doing? Why did she say that? What are they thinking? Marcus tells us this is poison. Because every thought spent on others is a moment not spent on the one thing we truly own, our own mind. He warns us, if someone were to ask you, what are you thinking right now? Could you answer with openness? Could you say, this thought is just, this one is kind, this one is useful? Or would you hide? The truth is, many of our thoughts, if exposed, would embarrass us. They're petty, judgmental, envious. They distract us from the path of wisdom. A man who masters his mind is like a priest, says Marcus. Not a priest of religion, a priest of truth. He does not live to impress. He does not tremble before insults or beg for praise. He stands rooted in what is right, because he is guided by the divine within, the spark of reason, which Stoics believe lives in all of us. But we let that spark dim. We trade it for dopamine, for noise, for drama. We waste our divinity by trying to be gods in the eyes of others. And still, we labor without purpose. We chase fame and comfort and pleasure. But Marcus says, unless your work serves the common good, it's not worth doing. A real man, a wise woman, they act without pretense. They need no external validation. They are upright not because others see them that way, but because they choose to stand. As he writes, a man must stand erect, not be kept erect by others. Do you see the pattern? The root cause is not out there. It's in here. We are distracted by the wrong things. We admire the wrong people. We wait for the right time. But all the while, we are drifting further from what Marcus calls the rational soul, the part of us that knows what is just, what is true, and what is enough. Marcus tells us, if you find something better than justice, than truth, than courage, than temperance, then by all means, turn to it. But if you don't, and you won't, then stop chasing what is lesser. Don't let pleasure, or praise, or power become your master, because these things may serve the animal in you, but they betray the mind. He warns us, the moment you let your judgment slide, the moment you compromise, you lose sight of the very thing that makes life meaningful. And what is that thing? The ability to live in harmony with your nature, to live with reason, to live with integrity. You must not value anything that forces you to betray yourself. Not profit, not popularity, not comfort. Nothing is worth the loss of your character. He gives us an image, a man at the end of his life, leaving the stage before the play has ended. Is that how you want to go? Or do you want to exit having played your role with honor? Even if no one was watching, the solution is to live a simple life. Pure, transparent. A life you don't have to explain or justify. A life in which your soul stands clean. Where your actions align with your values. Where your days are not wasted in comparison, but built in discipline. To do that, Marcus says, we must revere the faculty of opinion. That is, we must protect the judgment that forms our beliefs. Because everything, how we see the world, how we treat others, how we live, depends on this faculty. And if that faculty is corrupted, so is our life. Throw away distractions. He tells us, you live only in this moment, not in the past, not in the future. The rest is memory or fantasy. So what will you do with now? Finally, he gives us a technique, a method of seeing. When something appears before you, don't react blindly. Break it down. Analyze it. What is this thing made of? What is it really? How long will it last? What does it ask of me? Courage, patience, discipline. See the thing as it is, not as you wish it to be. This is not cold detachment. It is clarity. It is the power to see through illusions, to act rightly, to live rightly. Marcus reminds us, nothing can stop a man who works at the thing before him, following reason, calmly, and without distraction. If he does this, no one can take happiness from him. And just like a physician keeps his tools ready for any emergency, we must keep our principles close, ready, available, not only to face the world of men, but the realm of the divine. Stop wandering. Stop waiting. If you care for yourself at all, says Marcus, then come to your own aid, while you still can. You've seen the problem. We waste time. We lose reason. We live out of sync with our nature. But Marcus Aurelius didn't just identify the problem. He lived the solution. The first step is to return to your center. He calls it the ruling faculty. This is the part of you that decides, that judges, that reasons. Everything else, your appetite, your emotion, your pain, is noise. The ruling faculty is the signal. You must protect it, clean it, use it. Here's how. When something happens, anything, pause and ask, what is this? Really? What is it made of? What does it demand from me? Suppose someone insults you. Instead of reacting, Marcus would say, pause. Examine the insult. What is it? Just air, just sound, just a vibration. Then ask yourself, is this something that can injure your reason? No, not unless you let it. You choose whether to be harmed. That's the power of the ruling faculty. It turns every attack into an opportunity, every hardship into training, every loss into a chance to detach from illusion. Next step, stop watching others. Your life is too short to live in someone else's head. What are they doing? Why did she say that? What is he planning? None of it matters. The only thing that belongs to you is your mind. Protect it. Clean it. Fill it with thoughts you would not be ashamed to share. Marcus says, live in such a way that if someone were to ask you what you were thinking, you could answer with honesty. No shame. No hiding. No pretending. Third step, stop dividing yourself. Many people live split lives. One face for the world, another behind closed doors. But the Stoic life is unified. There is no mask, no hidden self. What you see is what you get. This simplicity is not weakness. It is power, because it frees your energy. No need to remember lies. No need to pretend. Live with integrity. That means your actions match your words. Your words match your beliefs. Your beliefs match reason. That's it. That's the whole path. Now the fourth step. Accept what is assigned to you. Your job is not to control life. Your job is to respond rightly. Marcus calls this your portion. You don't choose it, but you choose how to carry it. Some are given wealth. Some are given poverty. Some are given sickness. Some are given strength. These are not rewards or punishments. They are assignments. And the wise man accepts his with joy. He does not complain. He does not compare. He acts. He endures. And he remembers that the lot assigned to him carries him forward, just as he carries it. Fifth step. Practice right action. That means choosing what is just, not what is easy, not what is popular, but what is right, even if no one sees, even if no one agrees. Marcus tells us to act without needing oaths or applause. Just do the work. Do it well. Then move on. If you do this, protect your mind. Live with integrity. Accept your portion. And act with justice. Marcus says you will live happy. Not the fake happiness of dopamine or ego, but the deep peace of a life well lived. Now let's take it further. Because these are not just habits. They are a complete philosophy. A way of seeing the world. A way of becoming free. Marcus is not alone in this view. Epictetus, a former slave turned Stoic master, taught that we should never tie our happiness to things outside our control. Your body, your possessions, other people's opinions. These are externals. If you depend on them, you will suffer. Instead, care only for what is yours, your judgment, your character, your will. These are always within reach. Napoleon Hill, writing centuries later in Think and Grow Rich. echoed the same truth. He said that desire without self-discipline leads to destruction, that successful men are not led by impulse, but by principle. They focus, they decide, they act. So what do all these voices agree on? That the power of a man or woman lies in mastering themselves, not in dominating others, not in hoarding wealth, but in becoming clear, calm, conscious. That means you must stop living like an animal. As Marcus says, animals respond to impulse. Beasts chase what they crave. But you have reason. Use it. Govern yourself. Don't chase what you can't keep. Don't fear what you can't avoid. If you want to be free, stop chasing fame. Stop chasing pleasure. These things compete with virtue. And once you choose them, even slightly, they take over. You become a slave again. Freedom is choosing what is best, not what feels good. And what is best is always in line with your nature, with reason, with justice. So how do you know what is useful? Marcus answers clearly. If it helps your mind live in accordance with nature, keep it. If it only serves your appetite, question it. Be honest. Is this useful for my reason, or just my craving? Hold that question close. Let it guide every choice, every habit, every friendship, every ambition. Let's go deeper. Marcus talks about the divinity within, the demon, the inner flame. This is not a god outside you. It is your highest self, your rational soul. It does not scream. It whispers. And when you listen, it shows you the path. That voice says, don't break your word. Don't lie. Don't hate. Don't envy. Don't pretend. It says, stay simple. Stay strong. Stay just. If you follow that voice, you will not groan through life. You will not fear death. You will live whole. This voice doesn't need applause. It doesn't need escape. It doesn't fear endings. It accepts its fate with strength. That's who you can become. You don't need more. You need less. Fewer wants. Fewer lies. Less distraction. And more clarity. Marcus says, when something appears in your life, break it down. See what it is made of. See what virtue it requires. Courage, discipline, patience. Then do what the situation calls for. Nothing more. Nothing less. That's the path. Clear, quiet, powerful. So now the question comes back to you. Not what will you believe, but what will you do? Will you examine each day, each choice, each moment, and ask, what does this require of me? Will you stop chasing shadows and return to your center? If the answer is yes, then begin now. Start with your next breath. Say to yourself, I will protect my reason. I will accept my portion. I will live simply. I will act justly, because nothing else is promised, and nothing else is needed. He was the ruler of the most powerful empire on earth. His word shaped laws. His decisions affected millions. Yet every morning, Marcus Aurelius picked up his pen, not to issue decrees, but to examine himself. He sat in silence. No crown, no audience, just thoughts, just the hard questions. What am I clinging to? What am I avoiding? Am I acting from fear or from reason? This was not for show. No one would read these notes. He wasn't writing for fame. He was writing to stay sane. The pressure of rule, the betrayal of friends, the sickness of his body, the death of his children, the crumbling of his borders. And the louder the chaos grew, the more he returned inward, to the one place he could control. He wrote not as an emperor, but as a man, one trying to live a good life before his time ran out. There's one morning in particular. We don't know the exact date, but we can feel it in his words. The weight of everything pressing down on him. The loneliness, the fragility, the brutal truth that even he, the emperor, was losing time. And then he writes, almost as if whispering to himself, "You've embarked. You've made the voyage. You've come to shore. Get out." That line, quiet, direct, a man looking death in the eye and saying, "I'm ready," not because he wants to die, but because he has lived. Can you say the same? There's a moment in every life when the masks fall, when the distractions fade, when you realize you've been running in circles. That moment doesn't always come with fanfare. Sometimes it arrives in silence. In the middle of a conversation you suddenly can't finish. In the mirror, in the tired eyes of someone you love, in the ache that won't leave your chest. It's the moment you realize you've been asleep. And if you don't wake up now, you never will. For Marcus, that wake up wasn't a single event. It was a discipline, a return. Over and over again, he saw through the fame, through the power, through the stories men tell about themselves. He watched as great generals died like beggars, as scholars who mapped the stars were killed by disease, as emperors who built monuments were buried under the same dust as thieves. He saw it all, and he asked, "What does it mean?" It means you must live well now, because you do not know how long you have, not just your life, but your mind, the ability to reason, to reflect, to choose. That is the treasure. That is the flame. And when it goes out, it never comes back. Marcus lost friends, children, allies. He faced wars, famine, plague. He saw the worst of mankind. And still, he held on to this single truth. Your mind is yours. Guard it. Clean it. Use it. He tells us that many men die full of pain, not because their body failed, but because their soul was never used. They leave the stage before the play is over. Their life ends half finished, not because of tragedy, but because of delay. But you still have time. And more than that, you have the ability, the clarity, the awareness. And once you know that, there is no excuse left. The most powerful part of Marcus's journey was not that he reigned, not that he conquered, but that he chose, moment by moment, not to be corrupted by what the world offered him. He could have become a tyrant. He could have drowned in luxury. He could have chased pleasure, avoided pain, ignored duty. But he didn't. He chose the harder path, the quieter one, the one where each day is lived for its own sake, not for reward, not for applause. He chose reason over comfort. He chose justice over pride. He chose simplicity over indulgence. Not once, every day. And now it's your turn. This part of the journey is not about theory. It's about truth. What pain are you avoiding? What truth are you hiding from? What virtue have you neglected? Ask yourself, and wait for the answer. Maybe you've lived in fear. Maybe you've traded your judgment for comfort. Maybe you've wasted days chasing status. Maybe you've let your mind drift. That's okay, because now you see it. And once you see it, you can change it. That's what Marcus did. That's what you can do. You are not here to drift. You are not here to impress. You are not here to react. You are here to become what you already are, reason, justice, clarity, strength. That is the truth, the one he faced every day, the one you must face now, not tomorrow. Now, you've come this far. You've seen the truth that Marcus Aurelius uncovered, not in theory, but in the living heat of his life. Let's be clear about what we've learned. First, life is short, but the mind is shorter. Your clarity, your reason, your perception fades even before your breath does. So act while your mind is sharp, while your soul is awake. Second, distraction is the enemy. The obsession with what others are doing, thinking, judging, none of it serves you. Every moment you look outward in envy or comparison, you abandon your post. Third, beauty lies not in perfection but in alignment with nature. Whether it's a gnarled olive, a wrinkled face, or the fading body of a dying man, when seen rightly, these are not flaws. They are life, unfolding. Fourth, the only thing that is truly yours is your mind. Not your reputation, not your wealth, not even your body. If you guard your mind, if you direct your judgment, you cannot be shaken. Fifth, virtue is your highest aim. Not comfort, not power, not pleasure. Justice, truth, temperance, courage, these are your compass. And if anything pulls you away from them, it is your enemy, no matter how good it feels. Sixth, life will give you your portion. You don't get to choose it, but you do get to choose how you carry it. And when you carry it with dignity, you walk the same road Marcus did, the same road every wise person has walked before you. Seventh, the ruling faculty, the part of you that can choose, discern, and act is sacred. It is the flame within you. Do not let it be polluted. Do not let it be forgotten. Eighth, your time is now, not someday, not when you feel ready, not when others understand. This breath, this day, this act, these are not lofty ideals. These are the conditions of a strong, meaningful life. The kind of life that leaves no regret. The kind of life that, when death comes, you greet it as a friend, not a thief. So what should you do? Start by cleaning your mind. Sit with yourself in silence. Ask, what am I thinking right now? And is that thought worthy of the soul I've been given? Write it down. 1 page, 1 sentence if needed. Make it a daily practice. Do what Marcus did. Return to yourself. Then act. Choose 1 task, 1 duty, 1 hard thing, and do it without complaint, without hesitation, without needing applause. Watch your own thoughts like a guardian. When envy appears, name it. When fear whispers, face it. When pleasure tempts, question it. And when justice calls, follow. You do not need to read another book before you begin. You do not need to wait until you feel confident. You only need to begin. Live today as if you were summoned, not by fear, but by truth. The truth that you were not born to waste time. You were born to align your life with reason, with virtue, with nature itself. That's what Marcus did, every day, every night, until his last breath. You can do the same. So here's your next step. Take the insight you've gained from Marcus Aurelius and live it. Not later. Now. In your next choice. In your next hour. In how you speak. In how you work. In how you love. In how you let go. And remember, this is just 1 book. 1 moment in the journey. Because now you've learned how to master your mind. But another enemy awaits: impermanence. In the next episode, we face mortality head-on. What happens when everything you love slips through your fingers? What happens when the body fails? When time runs out? We'll confront the final lesson, that to live by virtue means to live ready to die at any moment. Until then, stand tall, walk simply, think clearly, and live as if you were already free.